Before we get talking about Wrexham Football Club, I do it every year in a video. I would love to know where you are watching this video from, at home, on your telly, on your laptop, on your phone. Let me know in the comments section because I'd love to see how big this channel is, possibly in lots of different countries around the world. So let me know where you're watching from in the comments. So welcome back to today's video. We're talking transfer news, of course. It shouldn't come as a surprise anymore. We're coming into the final few weeks of the transfer window. Phil Parkinson has said he still wants a couple more players through the door at the football club, and there has been some confirmed departures, and we've also had 2 or 3 players linked with Wrexham, 2 or 3 players that could add so much to this ever-growing squad at the club. And today we're going to be discussing the possible signings of these, the departures, and reviewing what our latest signings have brought to the club. So before we get into today's video, if you're looking for the best Wrexham content, I say every video, it's coming on this channel. Make sure to click the red subscribe button. We're on the road to 29,000 subscribers. Let's see as well if we can go for, let's go for a big one, 700 likes on today's video. And first, let's get talking departures. So as expected, Mo Faal has headed out on loan for the upcoming 25-26 season. He secured a loan move to League One side Port Vale, where he's already got off the mark for the League One side in the Carabao Cup away at Blackpool, scoring the winner from a header from a corner away at the Seasiders. So he's made a really early statement to Darren Moore, and Darren Moore, the Port Vale manager, has had some really good words to say about Mo Faal. So it looks as if he's got the right move, and I think Mo Faal might have been at West Brom when Darren Moore was possibly in the youth, managing the side and managing the first team, so that could be a connection there. And I think on the whole for Mo Faal, it was very obvious that he was going to leave Wrexham because of the lack of game time he had last season in League One, and making the step up to the Championship, it was going to be really hard for him to come in and become that key striker for us, and that's no fault of his own. That's just the quick rise that Wrexham have had over the past 12 months or so. It's not his fault. He needed this loan move. If he wants a future at Wrexham, he needs to prove to Phil Parkinson by playing regular football week in, week out, and he's possibly going to get that at Port Vale. I don't think he started either game yet. I think they played away at Burton yesterday. He started on the bench, and obviously Blackpool away, he did obviously come on as a sub and score, so it's good for Mo for his continued development. He's still a very young striker, but has had some good seasons, you know, at Walsall previously, and I think this is just going to do him the world of good, and let's hope his goal at Blackpool was the first of many at Port Vale. Left back Seb Revan has also made the switch to a League One side. He has joined Burton Albion for the upcoming League One season, and again, another player that I spoke about many times on the channel. I think it was guaranteed he was going to leave. Of course, last season he made a couple of appearances here and there, you know, playing at left wing back. Like Mo Faal, it was no fault of his own. You know, the promotion to the Championship was really going to limit his game time. Libby Kakachi coming in, James McLean obviously having a really good season last year and signing a new contract extension. It was always going to be difficult for Seb Revan to come into the Wrexham side, you know, make that left wing back spot his own, because, you know, you've got 2 very good players ahead of him, and at such a young age like Mo Faal, he needed to get a good move where he was going to be playing week in, week out. And for a side like Burton Albion, who, you know, were at the bottom end of the table last year, Revan's played in League One for Wrexham, he's played in the Championship for Rotherham, he's going to get consistent game time. And like I said, like Mo Faal, it's a good move on both ends. Not only for the club, they're getting a really good player, but for Seb Revan for just continued development and better game time at Burton. So talking on our big money signing, the saga is finally over. The month-long saga for Nathan Broadhead is over. A deal worth up to around £10 million reported by social media outlets is what Nathan Broadhead has signed for Wrexham from Ipswich Town, and that is what made Ipswich cave in that big transfer fee for the Welsh international. He returns home and he's ours for the next 4 years until the summer of 2029, a signing that's got a lot of fans excited. And rightly so. We're signing a 27-year-old Welsh winger who's in the prime of his career. You know, he's played in the Premier League last year for Ipswich. He's had some really good seasons in the Championship for the Tractor Boys, and yet another creative player is joining the ranks at Wrexham as we look to just further, you know, add quality and depth to that attacking third. And you're looking at the price tag of around £10 million. I think it's a set fee of £7.5 million plus add-ons, which could take the deal up to £10 million. You would hope for that fee Nathan Broadhead is going to score a lot of goals in a Wrexham shirt. Now, we've obviously seen Nathan Broadhead make his first appearance at the Racecourse Ground yesterday at home to West Bromwich Albion. A very earlier than expected cameo. Of course, Josh Windass coming off injured on the 30-minute mark. Nathan Broadhead coming on. I don't think it was in the plans of Phil Parkinson to, you know, bring Broadhead on that earlier. I think he'd have possibly brought him on around the 60th minute mark, or, you know, we were drawn at half time. I do think it would have probably been 10-15 minutes before Broadhead did come on, but he played a lot of minutes in a Wrexham shirt on his debut, and I really like the look of Broadhead. Broadhead. I really do think, as time goes on, he settles into that attacking third, gets to know, the players that he's playing with, the wing backs especially, like Ryan Barnett, Libby Kakachi. We don't have to talk too much on his relationship with Kiefer Moore. The amount of times they've played together with Wales, they're going to know each other really well, and I think that's why Parky has possibly gone in for a player like him, because they've had so much time together in the Wales setup. They're going to know each other's game really well, know each other's attributes really well, and I think this is possibly one of the reasons why I do believe as time goes on, Moore and Broadhead are going to be our front two partnership, with possibly Josh Windass sitting in behind. So it's going to be a very exciting time once all these players settle in and gel with each other and get to know each other, as players on and off the pitch. I think we're going to have a really good team, and if we can add maybe like one or two defenders here and there, maybe another midfielder, as time goes on, the squad is going to settle in really well. Parky and Parkin are going to get the best out of them, and we hope we can have a really successful season. Yeah, and back on Broadhead, I think as a player, you're looking at such a creative player, such a positive and confident player going forward, a good ball carrier. I can imagine he's going to create so many chances, get many assists, score many goals in a Wrexham shirt, because you're looking at him on the upgrades to the players that we already do have. His close control, taking on his man, spreading the ball out to the channels. On his debut, playing 60 minutes, I think he showed a lot and definitely gave a good cameo to the Wrexham fans as to why we have spent so much money on him. If there's ever a signing you want to work out at Wrexham, it's this one. Nathan Broadhead, coming through the academy at a very young age, going on to Everton, bigger and better things at Everton, at Wigan, at Sunderland, and obviously most recently Ipswich Town. It's coming a full circle. He's back in red and white, and he obviously knows what it means to the Wrexham fans and knows, the journey and the story that the club is on at the minute, and I think he's going to want to play a big part in that, and I do think he can play a massive part in that over the next couple of years. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of the signing of Broadhead? And most importantly, how many goals do you think he'll score in a Wrexham shirt? Leicester City midfielder Hamza Choudhury is on Phil Parkinson's radar, and it seems as if Parky is obviously looking for another central midfielder to add before the end of the transfer window. Football League World is reporting that Wrexham have set their sights on signing Hamza Choudhury. Now, the Bangladeshi international still has 2 years left on his Leicester City contract, so a fee is most likely going to be paid for Choudhury unless Parky is opting for that season-long loan, which we have seen before for Choudhury at Leicester City, spending last year on loan at Sheffield United. And I think if you're looking on the whole, Choudhury as a player, it'll be a good signing. I'm all for this signing of Choudhury. He's been around the Championship for quite a while, 111 appearances across 4 seasons, and also making 57 appearances for his current side, Leicester City. Last season he had a string of really good performances, especially in the second half of the season for Sheffield United. Obviously played a massive role in reaching the playoff final for the Blades, and I think you're looking at his stats and you're looking at the positions that he played. He mostly played at right back, but he made a couple of cameos here and there in central midfield. I don't think Phil Parkinson would be signing Choudhury to play him in right wing back. We've got Barnett, we've got Ryan Longman. Given his history, Choudhury playing in central midfield for Leicester City before, early stages of his career at Burton Albion, I do think his defensive attributes and his quality on the ball is what Phil Parkinson is looking at, and I think he will play that role that Matty James does play, playing in that defensive midfield role, which I think we need covering. Matty James is really the only player that can play in that defensive role, playing in front of the defence, covering the defence, doing the dirty work in that role. So I do think another defensive minded player is going to be on the cards for Phil Parkinson, bringing a player of Choudhury's experience. Of course, he's still 27 years old. He's got probably another 8-10 years left of his career. He's in the peak of his career, like Nathan Broadhead. It would be a very good signing in my opinion. He's a good player on the ball, and I do think if you're looking at all the boxes that need to be ticked for another signing at Wrexham, especially in that midfield role, I think Choudhury definitely does tick every single box, and I do think he started to tick all the boxes without really going in depth into, the possible signing of him and the type of player he is. I think it doesn't take a lot to see, the positions he's played, his statistics on the ball. I do think this would be a good signing for us. And like I said, we haven't got many defensive options in the midfield. I think George Thomason could probably play in that defensive role. You've got the likes of George Dobson and Ollie Rathbone, but they're going to want to, play that more advanced role in midfield. Matty James is the only real anchor player, you could say, that sits in front of the defence, does the could say dirty work, has that good passing range on him, and just does the simple stuff really well for us. So I think bringing a player like Choudhury in, who has got the Championship experience before, is off the back of a really good second half of the season for Sheffield United. I would be all for this signing. Moving on to another possible massive signing. This would be ridiculous. There's been a few whispers on social media that Wrexham are one of few clubs interested in signing Manchester City defender Callum Doyle as he's poised to leave the Citizens in the upcoming weeks left. Obviously the summer transfer window does end in a few weeks at the start of September, and it's looking likely that Callum Doyle is set to leave the Premier League giants. City have said he's available on loan, or a club can pay a fee of around £10 million to secure his services. If a club is going to table a bid in and around that region, I do think whoever puts that bid in, whether it be Coventry City, Norwich City, the clubs that have put interest in, I do think he's going to want to favour that permanent move over that loan move, because as we're going to speak on in a minute, Callum Doyle at 21 years old has had a lot of loan moves already. I think that's 4 to date that he has had, so this is the stage of his career where he's going to want that permanent home, that 3 or 4 year contract where he can really kick on. And if we're looking at, Callum Doyle more as a player, if we're able to pull off this signing, it would be strong contention for Wrexham's best signing of the summer transfer window, and I do think it would be in contention for one of the best signings we've made under the takeover. As I've just said, he's 21 years old and already he's gained 101 championship appearances for Norwich City, Leicester City and Coventry City, gaining 1 promotion to the Premier League along the way for the Foxes. If we're looking at Doyle as a player, Doyle is a left-footed centre-back. He's played a couple of games at left-back, but Parkinson, if he is interested in signing Callum Doyle, will want to bring him in to play in that centre-back role. And as we've seen over the past couple of games, especially pre-season and especially the 2 opening championship games, it is likely that Wrexham are going to go out and sign another centre-back. And if you're looking at Callum Doyle, he's probably the best option we could get if we're looking at sensible and realistic targets. Bringing a player of his quality and his experience, that sounds crazy because he's 21 years old, but he is experienced in the Championship. He's a consistent performer. That's something you can guarantee from Callum Doyle, is he will play, 45, 46 games out of the season. He will be there week in, week out for your team. He's a great player on the ball. You can imagine that being a Manchester City Academy graduate. He's going to have good quality on the ball, good passing range, and just overall, it would be a very, very good bit of business. And in my opinion, if I'm speaking to Phil Parkinson one-on-one, if the money is there, this should be the player that we should go all out for. It'd be a great investment if Callum Doyle has a really good season. I'm not just looking at, his time at Wrexham, but if he has a couple of really good seasons, the possible sell-on value, because eventually Wrexham will need to sell, these good players, and especially if he's at a young age and he has some really good seasons out. So you're looking at possibly a transfer fee that will double, if not triple, if he has a couple of good seasons at us. So, you're looking at a consistent performer, and at 21 years old, I would be all over this signing. And capping off the video with a look at the 3 signings that I've been most impressed by from the 180 minutes of Championship football that we have seen already. Kiefer Moore, Lewis O'Brien and Connor Cody have been the players that, I've watched and I've thought these are going to add something that we didn't have last season in League One, and these are going to be the players, if we are going to, have a successful season, will play a big role in it. Kiefer Moore, his impact against Southampton was ridiculous. We knew what he was going to bring to the team from his appearances in a Wales shirt, but he just does the dirty work really well. He'll win the flick-ons, he'll win the aerial duels, as we expected. And with him coming off against Southampton, I think that's definitely what changed the game. He was a great player in that. He won the penalty, he was winning the flick-ons really well. And if we're looking at Lewis O'Brien as well, I thought he was going to be that attacking playmaker, but the work that he has done in our midfield already, the ground he's covered, the quality on the ball, we're likely to see him beyond set pieces, especially free kicks, putting those balls into the box. He scored against West Brom, of course, yesterday, being in the right place at the right time. You're looking at midfielder in Lewis O'Brien that's, like I said, just going to cover the most ground in the Wrexham team, the good passer on the ball, spreading it out to the channel, spreading that sort of, you could say, pass into the final third that is unexpected. And I do think as time goes on, he is going to be a very good player for us. And likewise with Connor Cody, I think his experience really tells, especially to Max and Lewis Brunt, but you could say he's at fault for that 3rd goal against West Brom, but you can definitely tell his experience. He's solid on the ball, and yeah, I've been really impressed by those 3 players. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Which signing has most impressed you so far? Make sure to subscribe, drop a like, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video. Take care, guys. Up the Championship Reds.